games. As the NFL heads into Week 5, the league's 6 black head coaches are 15-10. Pittsburgh's Mike Tomlin, Houston's D'Amico Ryan, and Tampa Bay's Todd Bowles are 3-1. Raheem Morris of Atlanta and Antonio Pierce of the Raiders are 2-2. New England's Gerard Mayo is under 500 at 1-3. Adidas is getting ready to release a special edition of the Crazy 8 Low sneaker for 5 HBCU schools. The shoe was part of the endorsement deal Kobe Bryant had with Adidas in the late 1990s. Adidas has designed a new version of the shoe featuring the logo and school colors of Alabama State, Alcorn State, Grambling, Prairie View, and Arkansas Pine Bluff. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here's what happens when you advertise on KBLA Talk 1580.
3, possibly 4 weeks ago, I heard an advertisement on your radio station from a company called Grid Solar. I would love to have that phone number so I can reach out to them with reference to solar panels being installed on my property.
Our listeners are aware and engaged, but more than that, they are loyal. When they hear empowering messages that uplift their community and help them live better lives, they respond. No medium reaches this coveted black audience like KBLA Talk 1580. So, hit us up today at smb@kbla1580.com and let us help you connect with our loyal listeners. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Money to bud.
Ready or not, here I come, you can't hide. Gonna find you and take it slowly. Ready or not, here I come, you can't hide. Gonna find you and make you want me.
Now that I escape, sleep, walk away. Those who correlate know the world ain't cake. Jail bars ain't golden gates. Those who fake, they break. When they meet their 400-pound mate, if I could rule the world, everyone would have a gun in the ghetto, of course, when get the up and on their horse. I kick around drinking moonshine. I pour a sip on the concrete for the deceased, but no, don't weep. Why Clef's in a state of sleep, thinking about the robbery that I did last week. Money in the bag, banker look like a drag. I wanna play with pelicans from here to Baghdad. Gun blast, think fast, I think I'm hit. My girl pinched my hips to see if I still exist. I think not, I'll send a letter to my friends. A born again hooligan, only to be king again.
Ready or not, here I come, you can't hide. Gonna find
KBLA Talk 1580. It's always great when you can get a mostly behind-the-scenes person and lure them into a radio studio. And that is what we have done today. And I'm really, really excited to have him in the building. He's an editor and producer. He's known for diverse storytelling, his commitment to that across 5 feature films, 2 documentary series that he's been part of, including co-writing, co-editing Bad Faith, the Best of Fest winner at this year's Palm Springs International Film Festival. He's got other credits as an editor and associate producer, including like a Rolling Stone, The Life and Times of Ben Fong Torres. Want to talk about that. The documentary short Junk, which aired on PBS, and the documentary series The Hollywood Masters for Netflix. Plus, he's got something in production right now called Who's Better Than You? Clearly, we have a lot to talk about. He's got a BA in cinema from my great alma mater, San Francisco State, and an MFA in film and TV from Loyola Marymount, right around the corner. Alec Bear, good morning.
Thanks so much for having me today, Dominique. Excited to be here.
Thank you for coming in. I know most of the time editors and producers like to stay in small, dark editing suites and not come out in front of the camera, so I appreciate you being here today. So let's start with Bad Faith, which is on Netflix, and it's really been a hit. I mean, it's beyond the award at the Palm Springs. It's doing very well on Netflix, and it's getting, from what I can see, a lot of people are looking at it. It seems like a piece that's perfectly timed in its release.
Yeah, we've been really I guess, excited about the reaction that it's been getting. I mean, I don't know, enjoy is not the opportune word for it, but a lot of people have found it very effective, and it's had this ability to kind of connect the dots of our current political climate. So right now we're doing about 400 screenings around the country, a lot in swing states, of just regular people that have reached out to us and just want to do a public screening. So they'll play it at churches, at schools, anywhere to kind of like spread the word on this, which has been surprising and extremely nice.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes serious political documentaries, people don't want to hear about it. Right now, we need to hear about it. And, you know, I'm a news person. I read the news every day and talk smack about it for my show. It's my job. And there were so many things in bad faith that I had no idea about, like things that I just wasn't aware of.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the best piece of advice that we got, our director, Steve Ulacki, is longtime friends with the great documentary filmmaker Ken Burns. And his advice for this was, make it a history. It's a lot less, I guess people are less able to tune it out and just write it off if you trace things back for decades. So our goal here was to kind of figure out how we got to our current political climate, specifically Trump, his relation with evangelicals, the way that they've turned out for him in, you know, basically every voting bloc, and how we got to this. So it's tracing like a lot of the organizations that have come together over the decades, a lot of the political actors, Jerry Falwell's, Pat Robertson's, that put this together. And specifically, we follow Paul Weyrich, who is kind of the mastermind behind this and created, among other organizations, the Heritage Foundation, which we all know about now through Project 2025.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's not even a person I was tracking. And it's one of those things where hidden in plain sight, you know, where it's like, oh, why did I not know this? And I think that's part of the power of this picture. It's the full title is Bad Faith, Christian Nationalism's Unholy War on Democracy. Variety calling it one of the 10 best movies of 2024. When you set out to do this project, did you have any idea it would have legs like this?
No idea. We started this about 7 years ago, actually. And when we started putting this together, you know, Christian nationalism was not a term that anybody had really used or heard of. So the first argument that we had was to prove that it existed. You know, people thought it was kind of a boogeyman term from the left. And then after January 6th happened, you know, and all of the, I guess, religious iconography that was used in that, there were crosses, there were Bibles, like everywhere in the crowd that day. We didn't have to prove that it existed. It was more of an idea of figuring out how it morphed into where we are today.
But that's 3 years into production.
Yeah, 3 years into
3 years
production.
into production, you're finally able to prove one of the basic premises to, I guess, outsiders.
Yeah, start from scratch, essentially. I mean, it's wild to look at it today when you see, like, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, that kind of person saying, like, I am a Christian nationalist. You know, it was a word that was, like, very, very kind of avoided by everybody on the right, you know, for years when we started.
Yeah. I mean, I think of evangelicals and the Christian right. You know, I think about Jerry Falwell, what they used to call the moral majority, which you guys touch on in the film. But and now you hear people talking about Christo-fascism. But what you guys successfully do is draw this, like you said, a history, a through line, that this isn't something that popped up and went away, popped up and went away. This is actually a steady and purposeful, intentional build.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, after the first election of Trump, were shocked with how we got here on this. So it's like, I guess the idea being like a lot of the seeds that were planted here have been decades in the making. One of them kind of being the idea of looking at Trump as a King Cyrus kind of figure. So it's this idea that he's this flawed king who God is working towards. And it gives people the idea that he's, you know, anointed to be president. And it makes a lot of people that would normally kind of hold their noses at a lot of the things that he does, you know, they kind of go all in on him, essentially. And, yeah, I guess that's one of the most interesting things that we found.
Yeah, I mean, and you outline that in Bad Faith. This theory that, like, God is using Trump. So even though he's flawed, they're able to embrace him. And that is a key thing, because for me, I've always said all these people that claim to be Christian and they got all these Christian values, but they're championing this guy who got 3 baby mamas. You know, he's cheated on every wife he's had. He's cheated the contractors that built his resorts. You know, he cheated the American people. He lies more than, how can they, and this, it's like a biblical spin that makes it work for them.
Yeah, and it's kind of these bad faith actors that are using people's real religious beliefs and like authentic, you know, religion against them in a way. And a lot of the people on the top, when it comes to this, I mean, we kind of refer in the film to them using Trump as like a wrecking ball. So a figurehead that they can put in there and just ram him into things to kind of like destroy our institutions.
Yeah. I think that's really an important nuance of the film, because we say, oh, well, I've heard folks say, I may have even said myself, like, these low-income white folks are naive, so they're being tricked by this guy into voting against their best interests. He's a billionaire posing as a populist, you know, a self-dealer posing as someone that's going to help people who are struggling in this country, the working class, the poor. How could they be so naive or so dumb? But the case that you make in bad faith is that they're actually being manipulated using their own religious beliefs.
Yeah. My dad would always say that the rise of a dictator and authoritarian can happen because you convince people to vote against their own self-interests, right? So you have to find kind of a wedge issue or a way to people get on your side, because why else would, you know, lower middle-class white people vote for, you know, tax cuts for billionaires, that type of thing. And I think that they found through the decades that, like, religion is the key to that. If you believe that the person that you're following is speaking for God, you can justify almost anything.
Yeah. It's funny, my own father was an atheist, and that's why, because he had that, you know, mousy tongue, the religion is the opioid of the people. I am a very spiritual person, but watching this picture, you can see the manipulation there, and to your point, it's not the first time in human history that has happened. We got a lot to talk about. I'm really interested to talk about, you know, where you're going with this project, some of the other projects, including the upcoming one. We'll see what we can squeeze out of you about what that's about. And also, how does one end up doing what you do? The editors, the producers, the writers, many times behind the scenes, but without them, there is no quote-unquote content, at least not any worth watching. We'll look at that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power. Tabitha Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
So the thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it's uncomfortable to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. And only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for up to 8 hours for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price, however, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer, excludes 8-count packs.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, indeed. Like I said, I'm excited. I watched the film Bad Faith. It's a documentary. It's available. You can get it on Amazon Prime, but it's also on Netflix. Bad Faith, Christian Nationalism's Unholy War on Democracy. And I'm not a person that watches movies over again because there's too many to see, but I want to watch it again because I feel like there was so much information, not in a dry, boring way, in a really compelling way, so much information that I feel like I should have already known about the way that the right is moving in this country and the way that they have manifested and are manifesting their agenda through, it all ties into Project 2025, which is struck a nerve in this country. So how fortuitous is it for your project that right when we're having this conversation about Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation, your film is dropping because, as you mentioned, it's been 7 years in the making.
Yeah, it's topical now, which is really good for us. But I guess that one of the biggest things for us was, hoping that this could be like, I guess not just like a dry lecture, there's so much information in it. It's hard to find a path through the trees in a way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, our original ending actually was a lot more, if you thought this one was depressing, our first ending was much more depressing. So we were getting a lot of notes where it was like, this was great. I learned a lot of new information. That was the most depressing thing I've ever seen. What can we do? So we kind of re-edited the whole ending of the film with this idea of trying to find a progressive and thoughtful path forward. And we used Reverend William Barber for that, leader of the Poor People's Campaign, kind of like one of the heroes of our film. It's just kind of a beacon to show that, people can be brought together, get out to the polls, like, trying to start this grassroots movement on the ground.
Yeah, I like that too, because it also brought in the contrast of, faith theology. And so many who are, the theology of liberation is what I meant to say. So many people, who have been in various Christian traditions that, whether it be Martin Luther King or Bishop Romero, Bishop Tutu, who have used faith for just the opposite. And so I think that was, I'm glad you did, because I would have probably been crying if you wouldn't have changed the ending. So how does one become an editor, producer, writer like you are?
That's a good question. I guess it was a long road over here, but so I went to Loyola Marymount LMU for grad school with my good friend from back in the high school days from up north, Chris Jones, and we started kind of making different projects together, a lot of like music videos, shorts online, and we just started to find that the things that we were drawn to were kind of topical issues where we hoped we could kind of like make a difference, bring attention to a certain area. Our movie Junk is about plastic pollution in the ocean, and an activist that we had met that sailed a boat made entirely of plastic bottles and plastic bags is a sail from California to Hawaii. So it was like, it's finding these people and finding these stories that also have, hopefully some sort of relevance or teach people something new. We just kind of found Steve Ulacki, the director of this, was our dean at Loyola, and we've worked with him over the years through this, so we kind of just fell into this project and fell in love with it and have been actively involved with it ever since.
Yeah, I mean, most documentaries and projects that we see are 10 years, 5 years in the making. Very rarely do you see one that's kind of slapped together quickly, but I think it's important for us to know that, because it's a journey. And when you're editing a piece, I mean, I actually am an amateur editor. I think I told you that. Not a great one, but I can do it. But editing is so time consuming. I mean, you're in there and you're looking at these pieces of film over and over and over again and putting the puzzle pieces together. And especially if you're a writer, producer, editor, now you got to get the script and make everything tell the story. When we see it and it's already told, it seems like, oh, that's logical. But when you're sitting there with hours and hours and hours of footage and trying to shape it into a thing, that is a huge and that can be quite daunting.
Yeah, it's we kind of say that we write the script after the fact, in editing. We have some of these things when we jump in, there's just hundreds of hours of footage, right?
Yeah.
So you're listening to transcripts and you're just like, I sure hope there's a story here. Like, I hope there's enough here to make a movie out of and kind of make an arc out of it and make it, something that can entertain a little bit. So essentially it's a lot of, it's just a lot of hours of just going through footage. We had, Bad Faith, obviously, it's very archival based, right? So there were just whole weeks where it was just like KKK week, where I would just be digging in through archival of KKK all day, every day. And, that kind of...
How do you palate cleanse after that?
Yeah. A lot of MSNBC, actually. Feel a little bit better about things. Same with, like, focusing on the moral majority, or focusing on, a lot of the hypocrisies and stuff around Trump. But, as you get to know the material and the footage a lot more and more, it starts to kind of take shape. And, essentially we take the transcripts, you start editing them together. It's like the reverse of writing a script, essentially, to, try and find a path forward.
Yeah. And so you've got to know, you got to know this material backwards and forwards by the time you're done.
Yeah. I've seen everything from this movie way too many times.
Right. And do you get to the point where you're actually dreaming KKK Day and moral majority? And yeah.
I was doing that, I think, before I'm making the movie, having dreams about the way our country's going and Trumpism and that type of thing. But yeah, I've seen it too many times. I sneak out once.
Yeah,
I hope our director doesn't see this.
You probably have to play video games or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I watch dumb reality shows when I get, maxed out. I'll watch, Married at First Sight or 90 Day Fiance, just to make my mind have some white noise in it.
Turn the brain off for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I call it junk food for the mind. So tell me about this Like a Rolling Stone, the life and times of Ben Fong Torres, because this is someone I think you mentioned in the kind of advertisement for this particular documentary, that we don't know the name, but we've read his words.
He's an amazing person. And when you want to talk about kind of length on this, the Ben Fong Torres doc was, I believe, 12 years in the making. So
wow.
Putting all that stuff together, and I came on kind of towards the tail end of it. Our director was Suzanne Kai, but it's an amazing movie, an amazing story. He was the first, head of a major, magazine of Asian American heritage at the time. And Rolling Stone magazine is obviously this iconic thing. He was writing basically...
And it's also a very white iconic thing.
Yeah,
they've been called on the carpet many times for their definition of rock and roll and even R&B. So having an Asian American in that position in there is a big deal.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, because his name's Ben Fong Torres, nobody knew what ethnicity he was. He would get a lot of people that would just guess it was any kind of number of things. But yeah, I mean, we first kind of came to know about him through, I don't know if you've seen the movie Almost Famous, but
I did a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was kind of like one of Cameron Crowe's mentors, because Almost Famous is kind of like an autobiography in a way. So he was one of the original people there, kind of shaping the stories, shaping the taste, of rock and roll of that decade. So we had a lot of these people that are just like these amazing people that love Ben so much that they were willing to come on our film for free, do interviews. We have like Elton John, Bob Weir, Steve Martin, and they just remember him in his personality back in the day. He's a very kind of low-key and modest guy for all his accomplishments.
And so these folks, these celebs that you mentioned, wanted to be part of the film just because they love the guy?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's pretty rare. If you do anything in Hollywood, that's rare.
Yeah, and they gave us the rights to their music too for a lot of these things. So, that can get very expensive otherwise.
Yeah, the so-called archival or licensing of music is why you hear such terrible generic music in a lot of online podcasts and so-called content. Where can we see the life and times? It's called Like a Rolling Stone, the life and times of Ben Fong Torres.
Yeah, so Like a Rolling Stone is streaming on Netflix as of right now, I believe. And then Bad Faith, we're going to be premiering on Peacock pretty soon, I think. But yeah, they can find us there. We're 99 cents on Apple Music, on Amazon, and free on Tubi, but with ads.
Okay, I watched Bad Faith. I have so many. I thought I watched it on Netflix.
No, so
maybe I watched it on Amazon?
Yeah, it was probably Amazon.
I have so many of those apps. I just click around until I find the thing I'm looking for. So it's Amazon.
I'm glad you found us.
Yeah. I did. I was going to find it. You're going to come in and sit down with me, and so I was going to find it. And I'm so glad that I did. I mean, I really recommend that, especially our KBLA delegation, check out this movie, because even if you're paying attention, they've dug up things we should have known but didn't, but also things that are hidden, right? Hidden in plain sight, but hidden nonetheless. And so I think it's very, very informative about how we got where we are right now and where we could possibly be going if we don't start paying more attention.
Project 2025.
Yeah. It really is kind of in some ways a backstory for Project 2025. Among other things. We're talking with Alec Bear, and you're welcome to call in 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. Full disclosure, you're the cousin of a really, really good friend of mine, Dave Gingona, who's probably watching right now. We go back to San Francisco State, which is where I graduated from. And he told me something to ask you. We were talking sports a little earlier in the show, so he gave me a surprise question for you. I'm sure it'll be fun. We'll talk about that, and I want to hear what's going on with this new project when we come forward after news, traffic, and sports right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Search and recovery efforts continues in North Carolina and areas in the southeast devastated by flooding from Hurricane Helene. FEMA rescue teams from around the country are helping the North Carolina National Guard locate people stranded in flooded mountain towns in the western part of the state. Pundits say there's a lot at stake in the upcoming presidential election. Perhaps the most important task for everyone is registration. The deadline to register to vote for the 2024 general election is this Monday, October 7th. After that date, if you're not registered, you cannot vote. The process takes less than 2 minutes. Go to vote.gov and register now. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your home for 24/7 news, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get your home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime. Download the Lowe's app to find what you need today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers will play the San Diego Padres in the National League playoffs. The Padres beat Atlanta last night 5-4 to advance. Game 1 in the best of 5 is Saturday at Dodger Stadium. The Padres have been tough on the Dodgers this season, winning 8 of 13 games. As the NFL heads into Week 5, the league's 6 black head coaches are 15-10. Pittsburgh's Mike Tomlin, Houston's D'Amico Ryan, and Tampa Bay's Todd Bowles are 3-1. Raheem Morris of Atlanta and Antonio Pierce of the Raiders are 2-2. New England's Gerard Mayo is under 500 at 1-3. Adidas is getting ready to release a special edition of the Crazy 8 Low sneaker for 5 HBCU schools. The shoe was part of the endorsement deal Kobe Bryant had with Adidas in the late 1990s. Adidas has designed a new version of the shoe featuring the logo and school colors of Alabama State, Alcorn State, Grambling, Prairie View, and Arkansas Pine Bluff. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This truck season, think about all the things you can do in a Chevy truck. You can even just with impressive towing, incredible bed and tailgate functionality, and multiple powertrains. Chevy Silverado, the first ever Silverado EV, Colorado and Tahoe have what you need to get things done. When you want to do it all, Chevy's got you. It's Chevy truck season. Get 0% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 pickups when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together let's drive. 0% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 9.3%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 10/31/24.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chucha's opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
Talking with Alec Bear. He's a producer, a writer, an editor, and director, and his newest documentary is called Bad Faith. I suggest you check it out. I mistakenly said Netflix. He was kind enough not to correct me, but apparently I saw it on Prime. I was just clicking around, typing in Bad Faith, Bad Faith. It's Christian Nationalism's Unholy War on Democracy. We were talking about the Ben Fong Torres piece that you did, Like a Rolling Stone, which we can also stream on. That one is actually on Netflix. Yeah. For you personally, as a person of mixed heritage but Filipino, is it important to represent Asian Americans, and why does that resonate if it does for you?
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely did. I think that, I mean, when it came down to like Ben Fong Torres, his story was not really being told. Like, everybody knew his articles, everybody kind of like knew his work. He's like legendary in that sense, but he has this, I don't know if it's an Asian thing, a lot of our families are very modest with how they, talk about this stuff. But, it was kind of this feeling like, they might not be the people that are going to jump out and toot their own horn and talk about this stuff. So, it's important to get these stories out there, though.
Yeah, being an editor, it's like being I don't know. I can't even think of a good analogy. It's just like it's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work. I remember I would go into my studio and edit, and I'd start at like 7 p.m. and then I'd look up and it would be 7 a.m.
Yeah, time flies.
The time just disappears. But without it, there's no movie, right? And I remember when I was at KRON TV, I used to sit in the room with the union editors, and I was producing, and I'd say, well, can you put this shot with that shot? And they'd be like, no, that doesn't work. And I'd be, okay. And then when I started my own production company and got Final Cut Pro, I'd like, I'm going to put these two shots together anyway, even if it doesn't work. About 80% of the time, it didn't work because there are rules about what keeps the eye happy and what looks crazy and what looks good, right?
Yeah, blink of an eye. It's the idea, like, you cut a lot on blinks. Like, it's generally kind of like a good editing point. But yeah, there's lots of rules to this stuff.
How do you know where the blinks are?
So you just scan and find right before they blink and make the cut. You watch the same footage over and over again, essentially, until you get to that.
Wow. I mean, it's really an art. And I think it's an unsung art is what I was trying to say, because the rhythm of something, whether it's a music video or a documentary, something seeming boring or not, whether I receive it as realistic, truthful, or corny, could simply be an edit, right?
Yeah. They always talk about Jaws, where the editor of Jaws would pull out basically 2 more frames of the shark when it comes, when it flies towards the ship. That made all the difference between the test screenings where everybody thought it looked fake, they hated it, and the final edit where everybody bought it.
Wow, 2 frames of shark.
2 frames.
That's the kind of precision that we're talking about. Your cousin, my friend, he's been on this show before. I smile because he's just a lot of fun and he's a unique individual. He asked me to ask you about the time you were with him and you guys ran into Tom Brady.
I had a feeling you'd bring this up. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, so I mean, I guess it was like when I first started, I was in college at the time, so I was very green, and I would come with him on these shoots with him, right?
Right, Dave is a sports producer and newscaster.
And he's very big personality, very outgoing, very... So basically, I mean, just everybody knows him.
He's wild. I mean, to put it in context, he used to play in a funk band, and we're a Filipino with platform shoes playing the bass.
Yeah.
Who's also one of the baddest sports producers in the world.
Yeah. I mean, he's like a Bay Area legend.
Yes.
So he took me out to this. I think it was quarterbacks in from the Bay Area with kind of Bay Area roots, and it was the first time that I'd gone out with them to one of these shoots, and then I start just seeing all these people left and right, and they're just immediately like, Dave, they come up to him. So it was like Joe Montana, and he's just like, Dave. And then it was like Aaron Rodgers, Jim Plunkett. And we ended up, it's kind of daunting at first getting used to being around all these people, but we ended up interviewing Tom Brady. And I guess we went up there. I was holding the mic because I was a little PA, and, my hand was just like shaking the whole time during the interview. So he has to pull me aside, and he's just like, Alec, like, he's just a person, like, he's just a regular guy, like, just calm down a little bit. That's how it is with him. Everywhere we go, it's a lot of recognition.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's same with me, and I'm supposedly famous in the Bay Area, and people would be like, Dave! But anyway, that was part of your process, right, is running around with your cousin and,
Uncle, actually.
Uncle. Oh, I thought he was your cousin. Dave, did you say he was your cousin? Anyway, your uncle makes more sense because, he was my colleague when I was at KRON TV. That's part of your process of mentoring, being out there holding the mic for Tom Brady and being out there on shoots and figuring out where the edits are. And who do you like as far as like documentarians, editors, producers, like people that you watch, that you look forward to their projects?
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot, I'm just a big nerd about movies in general. So, I love anything. I love Christopher Nolan movies. I love Quentin Tarantino. But there's a lot of like fascinating documentarians out there too that are making stuff that kind of, really pushes boundaries, blends genres. I think of, Josh Oppenheimer made this movie, The Act of Killing, which is probably one of my favorite documentaries. Hoop Dreams. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's a documentary that I love.
I did see it. It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, 90s, back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then I've been lucky enough to kind of like work with some of my idols. Right now I'm working with Frida Lee Mock, who's an Oscar winner, the director of Maya Lin, A Strong Clear Vision. But yeah, I mean, I guess when I first started in this, I thought documentaries were kind of this PBS type of thing where it's very dry. You learn like a lot of stuff. I mean, you can really push boundaries with this stuff. You can make them very experimental. You can make them very weird. There's just a lot of different ways that you can take it.
Are we having a little bit of a renaissance with documentaries right now?
I think so. I think that there's more people that are willing to kind of take risks. I mean, I think it's a plus that places like Netflix and Amazon like buy all these documentaries. I'm very happy that there's a avenue for us to sell our films.
The streamers. I mean, for sure, I will watch a documentary that I might not go out to the movies to see at home. Let me see what this is about. Let me stop watching Love is Blind for a second and look at something that's going to feed my head. And so I'm really appreciative of the amazing, whether it be music or political docs, all of the content that we do have out there. When we come forward, I want to talk about your latest. You have a new piece coming out, and I guess you're working on it right now. So we'll talk about that when we come forward. Again, I'm going to suggest you guys check out Bad Faith because it's definitely worth the watch. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. SMP volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit ca-smp-volunteer.org.
Don't miss St. Heron's El Dorado Ballroom at Walt Disney Concert Hall, October 10th, 12th, and 13th. This celebration of transcendent Black performance is curated by Solange Knowles and named in tribute to Houston's historic El Dorado Ballroom. This program features a night of classical and symphonic works by Black women composers, including Patrice Rushen and Solange Knowles, as well as nights dedicated to avant-garde expressions in jazz and soul, as well as gospel. Get your tickets today at laphil.com.
And that chill in the air means one thing. It's truck season!
Just 5 more minutes.
No snoozing. You've got so much to do. So do it all in a Chevy Colorado or Silverado, including the HD or class-leading 440-mile range of the Silverado EV.
Wait, what? Are you talking?
Yes! Picture it. Work, play, hauling gear, off-roading. A Chevy truck can take whatever you can throw at it, including tailgating in an actual tailgate!
I mean, homecoming is just around the corner. Oh, and showing up in a new truck.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Get things done and look good doing it.
Okay, I'm up. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Without offering me a ride? That's cold.
It's Chevy truck season. Head to your local Chevy dealer and get 0% financing on all 2024 Silverado pickups when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
0% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 9.3%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available at least in some of the offers. Take me retail delivery by 10/31/24.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll put a sheet on it every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Put a sheet on it. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Put a sheet on it. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Okay, the conversation behind the scenes gets riveting too. Sorry, we can't share that with you. Well, we could, but we won't. Anyway, talking with Alec Bear, and it's really an honor to be in conversation with you. Your work is amazing. His latest doc is on Amazon Prime, not Netflix, Dominique. It's called Bad Faith: Christian Nationalism's Unholy War on Democracy. And you're working on a project now called Who's Better Than You?
Yeah, tentative title, but
okay.
Yeah, it's about kind of the healthcare system, I guess. It's this amazing woman I met. Her name is Trish Doolin. She found out that she had triple-negative breast cancer and that she had the BRCA gene. She's gone through 13 surgeries as a result of this. Wow. And it's kind of motivated her to go out there and bring attention to these loopholes in the healthcare system. Because the way the BRCA gene, the way they deal with this, I guess, and you guys have probably heard about this from Angelina Jolie, Christina Applegate, but it's a gene that you can detect very early, and it's passed on, generation to generation. So the way that the healthcare system worked, and the reason why it was so hard for her to eventually deal with all this is because, the system basically has the only way that you can live a healthy life and find the right path forward, whether it's, a mastectomy and oophorectomy, is to find out that you have the BRCA gene when you're young and when you're healthy and do something about it. The only way that insurance companies will test for this BRCA gene is if you have cancer already.
Wow. So
she found out twice, like at the same time, that triple negative cancer, and then they finally would test for BRCA, and they said, we found this also. So it turned out that her mother had it, her sister had it, and it's just kind of like one of these things with, avoidable deaths because we're caught in these catch-22s or loopholes through the insurance companies. Yeah,
actually I have a friend with that. And I think we are sitting in the Cheryl Flower studio, so rest in peace. Cheryl was Tavis's producer who died from breast cancer. But it is true is that these catch-22s within the system. I had a man on here talking about colorectal cancer, Michael Ferguson. His son died in his 30s because the insurance companies will not test you until you're in your 40s, but yet black men are dying from colon cancer in their 30s. And so, there are decisions that are life or death that are being made by these profit-driven corporations.
Yeah, it's all about price points, right? So, like, they look at a number versus whether it's worth the amount lost to do these testings, but public pressure can actually change these things quite a bit, Like, it does help to bring attention to this, to talk about these things, because they do take that into account, too, when they're looking at whether to cover certain things or not, what kind of publicity this will entail if they don't.
So the public discourse in that sense can make a difference.
Yeah. Move the price point just a little bit.
Move the price point. Okay, we got a few more bucks for you to survive here due to the fact that we don't want bad publicity.
Yeah.
That's wild. And that's another reason to do the documentaries, right? You get the conversation going, you stir the pot.
Yeah. My dad always had this idea that, he'd always hoped that I would make something that kind of makes a difference out there. And, after doing so much time in the YouTube space, like in music videos, like it's nice to be able to like find things that I care about and want to bring attention to, and then just try to bring like a little bit of attention to it.
Let's go to oh, he's gone. Never mind. Okay. When you say in the music video space, is there any music video you've done that you feel happy about that we should go look for?
It was a lot of like smaller and more kind of like local bands and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So nobody big or anything like that.
Yeah.
But those things, music videos are just I think a lot more hectic and messy than people would think they are.
I mean, you talk about the blink. Most of those, they edit like every second.
Yeah,
literally.
they move very fast.
Cut.
Yeah, and like a lot of times you don't know exactly what you're doing by the time you get out there. So it just leads to like a lot of arguments on set and just very intense things. So documentaries are nice. You get your interviews, you do the archival footage. It's a lot more relaxing by comparison, I guess.
Okay, this is totally inappropriate, but I'm going to ask you anyway. When you do interviews out on docs, how many cameras do you use?
Generally 2.
Okay, you win, Neil. I'm working on a project, and we've been arguing about how many cameras we need out there because I'm, from the rough and tumble guerrilla school where you're a lot of times you're doing everything with one camera.
Yeah, we actually, we shoot with one camera quite often. We shot a lot during COVID, right? So it was a lot of things where we only had one camera available, and we shot over Zoom. So it can work like that. It's just nice to have a second camera, a second angle, so you can kind of cut between things,
I should have asked you, I don't know if you know, when will we be able to see who's better than you?
Very early in the production on that. So we're still
kind of shooting. Could be another 7 years.
Hopefully not 7 years, but very possible.
Yeah. So we'll track that. And when you think about, this moment that we're in, everybody is a filmmaker in a way. I mean, when I started my production company, I was doing I actually did one music video for a very small artist, which, wow, that was hard. But anyway, I stopped doing it because everyone has a camera on their phone. Folks are editing on Instagram and whatever, iMovie or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
But based on what you said about stirring the pot and making these topics kind of go viral through the video content, which spurs the public conversation, which can change policy, what do you say to all of these amateur content creators?
I say go make your projects, go make your films. I mean, it kind of empowers everybody and brings a lot of kind of diverse voices out there, this ability, how easy it is, I guess, to just go shoot some things, A lot of the docs that I would watch when I was getting into this are just short things that are posted on YouTube about a topic. I mean, it can make a difference. You can bring attention to things. I mean, we thought that this movie Bad Faith would be, very small. This was like a movie that was made by essentially like a team of 4 people in a room for a lot of it.
Wow.
And, it does drive the discourse. I mean, these elections come down to a couple thousand people in a couple battleground states. So just like anything that you can do, we're just trying to screen everywhere, trying to screen it in all the states where it matters most. And people listen, people come out to it. People call us up and say, how do we help, get the message out on this? So I would say that like, don't stifle yourself before you make your point. Like get out there and shoot. It's so easy to do now.
So you don't see that as an encroachment on you as an artist or as a professional?
No, not at all. I like the idea of, whether it's short form or long form, like, there used to be all these barriers to being able to make a movie.
Right.
All of these gatekeepers, all of these things that like, would push down voices that were different at all. And, that doesn't exist anymore as much, There's no reason you can't go out and shoot something with your phone, shoot an interview with your phone. I mean, iPhones are crazy. The cameras on them are wild now. Like you can basically shoot something on those and post it and make it work. So I think opens up the space quite a bit. Yeah.
And the distribution too. I mean, you might not have worldwide marketing, but you can at least, post it on YouTube. You can put it on Tubi or even Amazon Prime, and get something out there. So that's interesting that you're telling people go for it.
Yeah, we're streaming, Bad Faith streaming in 30 countries right now, which is wild to me. Yeah, I don't know how relevant it is to everybody out there, but we've gotten feedback that people wanted to see it. And yeah, like I said, find something that you're passionate about and go make a movie. You can do it.
The badfaithdocumentary.com website says Bad Faith reveals how Christian nationalist leaders have spread fear and anger for decades, distorting political issues into biblical battles between good and evil. Financed through the secretive Council for National Policy, Christian nationalists have succeeded in taking over the Republican Party and turning it into a powerful weapon to demolish democracy from within. So well said. And like you said, you started out thinking this was going to be a tiny but mighty project. Now it's in 30 countries. You got a great review from Ken Burns here on the website saying it's a great, powerful, and timely film. Sometimes, I don't know if you want to call it God under the title of the film Bad Faith, but sometimes the universe puts things in rhythm for a certain timing and a certain reason. I'm sure you had initially hoped to have this thing out much earlier.
Yeah. I mean, it's I guess that like a big thing of our film and what we were trying to do is one of the main points is to make a film that's like not anti-religion in any way. That's pro-religion. I mean, religion's a great, it's a great tool for a lot of these things. So a lot of the people that we brought on are, actually people that are religious. Russell Moore is, a famous evangelical figure. Reverend William Barber's out there using his faith for amazing things, bringing people together. And, it's just this idea that religion can be used to connect people and to bring people together and communities together. It doesn't have to be this divisive thing the way it's being used today.
Yeah. And if you look on the website, you're going to see screenings everywhere. And a lot of them are at churches, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that and it's the same thing. It's people, pastors reach out to us all the time. And they're just like, we want to approach this from a different perspective. We want to show our congregation that there's other ways that we can look at these things.
Yeah. So how do we follow you? Are you on social media? Do you have a website, or do we just have to knock on the door of your edit bay?
Feel free to do that too. So we have, there's a Bad Faith social media. It's Bad Faith Documentary. We have a Twitter and Instagram, and you can find me on, I believe, at Alec Bear 3, ALECBAER 3. Feel free to follow me on that too if you have any follow-up questions or want to talk about, the movie or any screenings. We try to be very responsive to anybody that reaches out.
Well, I really appreciate your coming and spending the hour with us, Alec Bear. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Tavis Smiley's locked and loaded, and, well, he might find that offensive. Tavis Smiley has a peaceful and information-filled, fun-filled show on deck for you right now. And tap in with me on social media. I'm at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima Radio. You can find us at KBLA 1580. And tomorrow is Freedman Friday. We'll find out what happened at the press conference they're having right now in front of the governor's office, or shortly in front of the governor's office. I'm Dominique DiPrima. History is now, and we are making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Search and recovery effort continues in North Carolina and areas in the southeast devastated by flooding from Hurricane Helene. FEMA rescue teams from around the country are helping the North Carolina National Guard locate people stranded in flooded mountain towns in the western part of the state. Pundits say there's a lot. The deadline to register to vote for the 2024 general election is this Monday, October 7th. After that date, if you